Hello YouTube, to yet another tutorial. In this tutorial I'll be going to show you the basics of Docker. So first of all, if you're working with Docker and you have to use sudo again and again, you can use these commands again and this should get you working. So if I do this again, tutorials, and this is only if you're having problem and you have to use that sudo thing again and again with Docker. If not, then this step is absolutely unnecessary. Then once we're done with it, so if you haven't been present in my previous tutorials, I will like to tell you more about the difference between an image and a container. So basically, as we have object oriented programming, classes and objects are there. Similarly, there are images and containers. So class is an image and object is a container. So what do I mean by that? So like each in a like class is a factory and each and every object is instance of the class. Similarly, we can assume that image is a factory and each and every container is instance of that image. So you can have different containers running at the same time. They can have different features. They can have different folders inside them, different whatever you can say, code or anything running, and they can be different. And if you're happy with a container, you can make it into an image. So I'll be going through all the important commands which I feel is necessary for basics and for running the simulation, and the things that I learned for building this images. I will teach them to you so that if you want to build your own image, you're ready. So first, to see the images, we can do a Docker images. So you will see that I have latest Ubuntu image, which is a size of 73.9 MB. And if you remember, when you downloaded the Ubuntu ISO, if you remember it correctly, it will be around 1 GB or so more. So if you think about it, this is a very light version of Ubuntu. It has only the bare minimums and you will have to install everything you want. But that's actually the best part, because you only have the things which you need, hence making it smaller. So if you do Docker images on your machine, you won't see any Ubuntu image, because I just downloaded it. So I'll just remove it. So Docker images is for showing the images, whereas Docker RMI image name is for removing the image. So if I do Docker RMI Ubuntu and then a tab, and then it will show me Docker RMI Ubuntu latest. So what are tags? So suppose for current time, Ubuntu 20.04 is actually the latest one, but if you want to download Ubuntu 18.04, as in our case, we'll have to specify a particular tag. So first let's remove this. Ubuntu latest must force. Okay, so why is this happening? This is happening because I have different containers using this image. So to list the containers, docker ps is a command which will list all the running containers, and to list all the stopped containers, you will have to use docker ps -a. So you can see there are four containers, and to remove, and all of them are in exited state. So if a container is running, you will have to stop it before removing it. If a container is running, you cannot remove it. Similarly, if any container is using an image, you cannot remove that image if you don't remove that container. You can do it forcefully, but that's not a good practice. So to remove the containers, we do a docker rm using and the names. So h hungry, then be busy, my coons, and magical. So when we create containers, you will see that if you don't give a name to a container, it will actually give a name to its containers. It's like adjective followed by name of a scientist. So my coons was a name given by me, whereas hungry brown, busy color, magical Meninsky was the game given to the containers by the Docker. So let's remove them. And if you go and do docker ps -a again, you will see there are no running stopped containers. So now we do docker rmi ubuntu, and this should remove it. Now if I do docker images, you will see that there are no images. Now let's download the particular image that we want. So to pull images from the Docker Hub, like we pull code from GitHub, we do docker pull Ubuntu, the image we want, and we can specify a tag if you want. And if you don't specify a tag, then it automatically downloads the latest. So I want 18.04, so I specify the 18.04 tag, so I press enter. So, and one great thing about Docker is, suppose you want to run image and you don't have that image, then if you do docker run, and if I had done docker run Ubuntu 18.04, then it would have actually looked in the local system and found that there were no Ubuntu 18.04 images available, and pull it from the Docker hub. So that is one of the good features that Docker has, pulling images automatically if it doesn't find them. But it's always a good practice to only have images that you need and pull them first. So that's one piece of advice from my side. So once it's done, we can see. So if we do Docker images, we can see that the Ubuntu repository is Ubuntu, the image ID is there, and every image has a unique image ID. The size is even smaller, and the tag is 18.04, so it's not 20.04. So now we'll see how to run containers. So to run containers, basically, and one more thing, to run a container lives as long as there's a process inside it. So if you just run containers, it will automatically shut down because there's no process to keep the container alive. So whenever we want to run containers, we want to run it with the interactive terminal. There's for -it sign. So if I do docker run -it and the name of the image, so let's Ubuntu, then if I do this, oh sorry, so it should be docker run Ubuntu 18.04, because if I don't do that, you can see cannot find image Ubuntu 18.04 locally. Now it latest locally. So what it will do is, it will start downloading that image and then create a container out of it, and I don't want that. So docker run -id with the tag, and now when I do it, you can see that my terminal changes. It becomes root at the rate of some random number with letters and digits. So this is actually inside of the container. So if I do ls, you can see, and the root user, there are different things, like just like an Ubuntu file system. So, and now if I go to another tab and I do a docker ps, I can see there's a container running with the image of 18.04 with the names friendly write. So adjective followed by the name of a scientist, and it has been up for 23 seconds. So let me exit it. To exit a container, you can do docker exit, and now if you see docker ps, there will be nothing because there's no container running. But if I do a docker ps -a, it will show me that there was a container with the name friendly write. It's still there. I haven't deleted it. It has been exited 7 seconds ago. So this is one thing. Now coming to the naming of the container, so you can start another container, docker run -it, and as far as I remember, if I give -name, my container, oh it's container, but still it's okay. So it starts a container. Now if I go to the other terminal and try and see docker ps, so I'll see that another container with the name of my container has started, and again I can stop it by using exit. Now I'm out of the shell of the docker container. Now I do docker ps -a, I can see that there are two containers created by me, both on the image of Ubuntu 18.04. So yeah, both are in the exited state now. So the containers have stopped, and now if you want to start the container, you can do it by using the command docker start and then the name of the container. So one of the containers is friendly write. So let's start friendly write. So friendly write. So it has started. Now how do you verify that? So if you do a docker ps -a, you can see that it is up now for 6 seconds. Now I want to get back to the terminal inside my docker container. So to do that, I use docker exec. Exec means execute a command -it, name of the container, so it will be friendly write. So actually docker is very smart. So if you know, right, tab stands for autocomplete. So whenever I do a docker exec -it and I press F it will automatically complete friendly write. But whereas if I do it for a stopped container, my it won't do, because it knows that you cannot execute a command in a stopped container. So that is a very good feature, friendly write. And then what I want to execute, I want to execute a bin bash. So when I do this, it starts the terminal again. So you can see it's there. You can do anything you want. You can view the file system. We can go to let's go to home, cd home. Also, the memory of each and every container is unique. So what I'll do is, I'll do one thing. I'll create a folder named mkdir test inside my home folder of this friendly write container. Now if I do ls, I can see there's a test. Now I'll just exit the container. Now there's one thing to notice, like I do a docker ps -a, the container is still running. So if you remember, the first time we did docker run and then exited, the container automatically stopped. But in this case, now when we exit, the container hasn't stopped. So this is one of the things. You can go back in the video and have a look. So just to stop the container, we can do a docker stop friendly write. So stop friendly write. Again, if you do a docker stop my container, no, it won't work because it's already stopped. So yeah, and then if I do a docker ps -a, you can see the container has stopped. Now whatever the files and folders I've created inside that container will remain intact, but if I delete that container, it will all go off. That the file that I created inside the home won't be present in any other container and won't be present in any other new container that I make out of that Ubuntu image. So it sounds a bit tricky, but I'll show you. If I do a docker start my container, whatever you want to call it, and I do a docker exec my container, and then if I do cd home and do ls, there's nothing. So I just exit, I stop my container. Now I'll show you what I meant. Now you see that that specific file system was particular to the container of friendly write, and it will still be there unless and until I delete it. So what if you want to make the changes? In my case, it's just a useless folder, but sometimes you will have some installations which you want to keep and want to make new containers out of it. In that case, you will have to create an image out of that container. So that is also pretty simple. But again, for the proof of concept, I'll show one more thing. Docker run -it, and then it will be Ubuntu colon, and yeah, so that should do it. This will start another container, and if I go to cd home and do an ls, the container is not present. So that proves my point. Now let's exit, and now you will see that container will be stopped and not running. Docker ps -a. Now, so you remember that we had so its name was Hardcore Aryabhatta, a funny name, right? So you see that friendly write had a folder there, right? So what we'll do is we'll do I guess, yeah. So see, you don't have to remember all these commands, you can learn them as you go. And one of the best ways I feel for documenting or noting down anything you learn is to use Notion. So I use Notion a lot, and I'll also link my pages, my notes in the video description, and you can refer them if you want. You can modify them and you can do whatever. You can create your own copy. So I have this introduction, this commands, Docker images, architecture, networking, and Docker. These are the notes that I built when I was learning from different sources. So yeah, references are there and everything. So actually, so yeah, it also has a feature of having a table of contents feature. I can jump to whatever I want. So actually I want to commit in Docker means that you want to make that container into an image. And so if I look for it, starting changing the host name, yeah, you can change the host name, you can do a whole lot of things, but that's not actually very important to us. You can go through my files, you can copy folders, that's one of the things. Making changes to Docker images is there, yeah. So Docker commit is there. So for this, as far as I remember, the container name should be the container should be stopped. So I'll do docker commit and then the name of the container, so it's friendly something, friendly, right? And the name of the image, so I will just name it test underscore folder is there in this folder, in this container, sorry. So I'll just make a commit, and what it will do is it will make that image. Now if I do go and do docker images, I should see one more image. Yeah, so test underscore folder is there. Now what I'll do is I'll do a docker run minus it to see if that test folder image container has a test folder in the home directory. So docker run minus it test underscore folder and then run cd home, and then if I do ls, yes, the test folder is present. So we have successfully made some changes in our containers, made it into an image, and now we have it ready. So whenever we make new containers out of test underscore folder, it will have the changes that we want. So that's a very important thing to learn, like to know. So if I do docker ps minus a, because if you don't do that, all the containers, if you remove these containers, then that changes will be gone. One more thing I want to discuss is how you can copy files. So execute a command is there. You can add a username to this containers. It's okay, but it's not that necessary. Yeah. So you can add a host name whenever you run a container. So you can see it's root at the rate or root at the rate something something something, like very bad. And if you have multiple containers running, you wouldn't want that happening, because you want to identify each and every container even though it's inside of a container. So let's see, it's I'll start a new container, docker run minus it. Let's see, even I don't remember all the commands. So minus h, and it's hostname dot local. So I'll say test dot local, okay, local, and then it's image name and bash. So image name is, let's say, test dot folder and bash. So now you can see I have, instead of that garbage that you used to have, it's named as test. So it's a much better way of having the names of inside the containers. It won't change the name outside the container. So I'll just show you. If I do a docker ps minus a, you can see that another container is up for 16 seconds. It has the name of infallible pane. So that's one of the things. And then I exit, it stops. Now let's remove all these containers. Yeah, and one more thing which I wanted to show you is how you can copy your files from Docker to a machine and from your machine to Docker. So copy the test folder that I have inside one of my Docker containers to my machine, probably my desktop. So what I can do is I can do docker cp location in our file system, like docker cp container name file location. So let's do let's run the container first. So sorry, start it. So docker start, and I guess it was some Aryabhatta. Again, you can go back, and it was for let's infallible. Let's go for infallible pane, and docker exec minus it, then the name of the container infallible, and then what I do to do bash. So if you can see that that name remains. So if I go to cd home ls, the test folder should be there. Now I want to copy it. So what I'll do is I'll just do an exit, since this is running and I wanted to show you. Now I'll do docker cp, and then name of the container is container name, so infallible. So yeah, also the container must be running for you to copy things in and out of it, and location of the folder. So I should have done, it will be home, I guess it's test. So and my location would be, let's go to home and desktop, copy here. Yeah, and you see the test folder has come here. Now this proves my point. Now let's send a folder to my Docker. Okay, new folder, let's my name is as send. Now there's a new folder. Yeah, in all these examples, you can see that my Docker container is running, that infallible pane is running. So yes, so what I can do is I'll just do a Docker cp, I guess it's desktop slash send, and if I look to my notes, into my notes, it's like yeah, container name and file location. So container name is infallible. Yeah, always provide an absolute location, otherwise you will have a problem of what do you say, volume mapping, bind mounts and Docker volumes. So I won't go into this topic, you can refer other tutorials, but always as a warning, always provide absolute path. It has been up about a minute, so for 2 minutes. Infallible, let's see, I'll just show you infallible underscore pane, and if I go home, so let's do a Docker exec bash cd home ls. Yeah, so that send folder is there. Sometimes autocomplete doesn't work as intended, so I'll just exit it and I'll remove all the containers and all the images, and I guess this should be it for all the Docker basics for now. For pushing images, you can use the Docker push command, but again you will have to make a Docker account, and that is one of the things that has been covered very properly in other videos and other tutorials, so I won't be touching on that part. I just want to touch on things which are important for running the images that we are going to pull. So Docker RM, I'm sorry if the tutorials are not very comprehensive, but these were not meant to be like this. They were meant to be project based tutorials, and I guess this is enough for the project. So infallible, what is the, oh yeah, so I cannot remove a running container. So if I do infallible underscore pane, it will give me an error. So what I do is I do a Docker stop infallible pane, then it shouldn't be a problem. You can remove multiple containers, so Docker rm infallible pane, then I'll just do it here. Docker rm infallible pane focused, friendly, hardcore, and my container. All the containers gone. Docker ps -a, and then Docker images. I might as well remove all these images because I don't need them. And Docker RMI for removing the images, test folder, and Ubuntu 18.04. So yeah, gone. And Docker images. So okay, again, thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for the next video where we'll be actually downloading the Docker image that I've created and running the PX4 simulation on it.